From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In the NoCo, a daily slice of Northern Colorado news and happenings. It's Wednesday, May 1st. I'm Erin O'Toole. It is an election year, and here at KUNC, we're covering the issues by asking our community what they care about most as Election Day approaches. And that includes listening to the voices of younger voters. One way we're doing that is by working with student reporters at Front Range Community College. They'll help us understand what college students and other young voters care about. Today, we're joined by two Front Range students who write for the student newspaper, The Front Page, and the podcast Upfront. Isabel Delgado and Julian Haynes, welcome to In the NoCo.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So both of you are reporters with the Front Page student newspaper. Isabel, you host the Upfront podcast, and Julian, you are a staff writer and run the YouTube channel. Could you tell us a bit about why you are a student reporter and what you're studying at FRCC? Isabel, do you want to tackle that first?
Yeah, I've always been passionate about storytelling and media. Before pursuing my engineering degree, I worked as a welder and I shared my journey through my own podcast. And so when I came to FRCC, I noticed a gap in our college community's media coverage and developed the podcast to fill that gap. And so now I host Upfront from the Front Page here at FRCC.
Cool. And how about you, Julian?
Yeah, I'm studying journalism. I've always loved reading and writing. I specifically love classic books, and a lot of my favorite writers were journalists. So I guess I'm kind of following in their footsteps.
So, Isabel, what issues are rising to the top as important to young people during this election cycle and within the broader FRCC community?
During this election cycle, several key issues resonate deeply with young people and the broader FRCC community. I think that climate change is a pressing concern. I think that student debt is another significant issue. Healthcare is also a very critical issue, especially as young people navigate access to affordable healthcare and mental health services. Racial justice is at the forefront of many people's minds as they advocate for equality and inclusivity in our society. To appeal to young and first-time voters, candidates need to address these issues with empathy and understanding and concrete plans for change.
And certainly a lot of reasons for people to vote, and that doesn't always translate into actually going out and voting. Julian, you and another student reporter recently produced a social media video asking students if they plan to vote in the general election. Let's listen to a montage of their answers.
Probably no.
It's like my first year that I'm able to vote, so I think it's just like important to have my voice heard, I guess.
I don't care what people say about voting. Oh, Green Party means throwing away your vote. Vote how you want to.
For the most part, I don't really have any plans to actually vote.
I'm voting this year because I feel like it's one of the most important things you can do to make a change.
Julian, how did you feel about asking these questions? And was there anything that surprised you about the answers?
Yeah, I assumed going into it that I would get people avoiding the camera, and I assumed that almost everyone would say no.
Huh.
We really got all ends of the spectrum and a lot of different perspectives.
Yeah, that's quite a wide span of answers there. So how does the Front Page plan to be a resource for the student body and the broader FRCC community? Julian, what do you think?
I think we're going to have the most relatable and reliable coverage for our students. Through mediums such as our digital paper, YouTube channel, podcast, and Instagram. And with the help of KUNC, we want to inform our school honestly by giving a perspective only we can give, an on-the-ground student perspective.
And what about you, Isabel?
Here at the Front Page, we plan to continue providing timely news coverage, getting news and stories out there to students using our various platforms. We're active on social media. Of course, we've got the podcast Upfront, and we're always out on campus waiting to hear from students. Of course, now we want to inform our school honestly by giving a perspective only we can give, an underground student perspective.
Well, I am so looking forward to reading and listening to what you all produce ahead of this year's election, which is coming up super fast, faster than we know. Julian Haynes, Isabel Delgado, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can find links to the Front Page Student Newspaper and the Upfront podcast in our show notes. Collaboration with Front Range Community College journalists is just one way that KUNC is covering the 2024 election cycle. We also want to hear from you. Voters are at the heart of every election. We want to know what issues most matter to you. Your hopes and concerns will set the agenda for how we report and write about the issues and the stakes of this year's election. Please go to KUNC.org and take a few moments to tell us what you think candidates should be talking about as they compete for your vote. We'll use your contact information only to reach out if a reporter wants to better understand your comments. If you choose to remain anonymous, your name will not appear in any story. Again, go to KUNC.org and tell us what you think. From time to time, we love to share feedback from our audience. A listener named Jim wrote back after hearing our recent interview on growth and transit in northern Colorado. Jim writes, "When we speak of transportation, we most often think of efficiency or pollution, traffic jams, building more roads, and the like. Perhaps climate change and carbon are added into the mix. What always gets left out is the impact of car culture on our mental and emotional health, our lack of community. Cars keep us spread out and disconnected. Community planning, where cars are the focus on planning as opposed to planning around people and community, is partially to blame for the isolation we all feel. As Colorado deals with all this new population, we have to pivot away from car-centered development in favor of dense urban areas, more third spaces, bike and walking trails, away from roads and more public transportation." Jim, thanks for listening and sharing your thoughts. If you have feedback for us, please let us know. Write us a note or send a voice memo at noco@kunc.org. And that's it for us today. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening to In the NoCo. We'll be back tomorrow with more of what's happening in northern Colorado.